Serve Home Care Group. What I'd like to talk to you guys today about is how we have actually gone about enhancing the delivery of the care model in Ireland. We have a lot of issues in the Irish current health service. So the demand on our services are huge. We see the waiting times. We've got a work to rule coming up in the hospitals. Health emergency response requests are high. Numbers attending EDs, especially in the winter, the flu issue, but just not the EDs, but the out-of-hours services, they are quite significant and causing longer waiting times and therefore longer treatment times and ultimately putting patients' lives at risk. Occupancy rates and lengths of stay are huge in hospitals. COPD, which is an example that I will use later on, the average length of stay once a person is admitted for a COPD exacerbation in Ireland is 9.2 days. In the United States it's 1.7. Now with a cost of about $1,000 per patient per day, you can see where the costs actually ratchet up. And then of course we've got the delayed discharges from hospital. Why? Because we don't have the step-down mechanisms, but the step-down mechanisms that are in place aren't as efficient as they could be. It's going to get worse. Okay, demographic change, we all know we're all getting older and the population is getting older. And as a result of that, you're going to get a lot more chronic diseases, COPD, CHF, asthma, coronary stroke conditions and so on. So that's going to put an increased demand both at primary care level, but also at secondary care level in an already creaking environment. And our primary care services, the demand for them is going to increase as well, because we're going to need new GPs, increased number of GPs. We're all very, very familiar with the mass exodus of GPs out of this country every year. The GPs, as a result, are going to have to treat increasing numbers, and they're going to have to develop and implement new systems and methodologies of actually treating these patients and managing these patients. So we've gone through all of this, but the government has described previously that they want to do reform and reorientation, stating that as part of his long-term strategy to invest in primary care. But we're not seeing a lot of it. Now we are beginning to see a little bit of movement. Just to tell you a little bit about who we are, we were established back in 1989, so we do the doctor on duty out-of-hours service. We do approximately 50,000 house calls per year, and 50% of them are as a result of exacerbations due to chronic conditions. And depending on the season, so more recently over the last number of months, it's been in the COPD area. We also monitor alarms, but where we've gotten into in the last number of years, and this is the kernel of what I'm going to speak to you about, is we looked at telehealth for patient-centered care. So that's how we started back in 1989, and believe it or not a lot has changed. If you look across all of the out-of-hours service providers, they have a card, they have a mobile phone, and they have a pager. At the moment, okay, the mobile phone and the pager, they're combined into one, into the smartphone. So when we're very busy, we will have 7 doctors on the road, up until a couple of years ago, and we will have 7 drivers. And they'll be all across the city. On average, they did about 1.75 to 1.9 calls per hour. Most of the time is in the car, being driven around. These guys are trained to deliver healthcare, so we looked at it and we said, okay, how can we actually get them into a position where they can deliver healthcare all the time? And how can we, of course, increase our efficiencies? So we've got 6 cars, 6 set of mobile phones, obviously, and 6 doctors, and doctors are very, very expensive. So we looked at telemedicine. So that's what telemedicine is, use of communications technology to remotely evaluate, diagnose, and treat patients. Now, that's going to ring a bell for you guys at the moment and say, oh yeah, we see Aviva Health and all of these online face-to-face communications, which is basically a consultation by Skype. But the IMO came out a number of years ago and said, ban all the telemedicine. Because you don't have continuity of care, you have an inability to listen to heart and lung sounds, and there is a final one which I remember. But anyhow, they were totally against it because you don't actually have a full assessment of the patient. It's just a patient talking over a Skype unsecure platform. So what we did is we did a 2 to 3 year research project where we looked at all of the different kind of telemedicine and teleclinics that were available across the world. And we had special criteria, so we finally settled on AMD Telemedicine, Global Telemedicine. We're based in Boston, Massachusetts. They have equipment in 97 countries worldwide. In fact, their technology is the technology that is being used on the International Space Center for the astronauts who actually get sick. So what does it provide you with? It provides you with our specially designed medical camera, so we can use that to actually take pictures of the throat, the skin, the areas of concern that somebody might have. We have a full vital signs monitor. So that will give you obviously your pulse oxygenation, your pulse, and your blood pressure. We can look into somebody's eyes with retinography. We have an electronic stethoscope. We can do ultrasound, a digital otoscope, so we can actually look into somebody's ears and capture pictures. And we can run a 12-lead ECG. And this is all without a doctor being in the room. So how we actually do this is we send out an individual, a medically trained individual. It can be a nurse or one that's paramedically trained. They go out to the patient's room and they work up the patient. So they basically create a mini electronic record for the patient. They take all of their vitals. If the patient is complaining of a sore ear, they can capture images of that. And these are real images, in fact, of patients that we have seen. So using the different peripherals that we have. So once the paramedic has basically completed, or the nurse has completed their workup with the patient, they combine the whole file together and they send it back to the doctor, highly secure. So this is all HIPAA compliant in HL7. The doctor then comes online and gets a notification to say, right, I'm ready with the paramedic, or with the patient. He reviews the file so he can have, he will know exactly what he's dealing with, whether it's male, female, pre-existing conditions, what kind of medications they're on. Plus he has all of this supporting information that he would ordinarily have to go and get for himself. At that stage he then joins by video link, which again is highly secure. And at that stage the attending medical physician, whether it be the nurse or the paramedic, becomes his hands. So if he wants to see live video streaming of what's going on in the ear, if he wishes to see the throat, if he wishes to see the gait of the patient, how the patient works, that can all be facilitated. And most importantly, if he wishes to listen to heart and lung sounds, he directs that trained medical professional to put the stethoscope in the right areas. So what that has done for us is, instead of having 6 doctors out on the road with 6 drivers, we can have 6 paramedics out on the road, or 6 nurses out on the road, 1 doctor sitting on their own in a surgery, so they're actually seeing 6 patients an hour, and we don't have to pay for the driver. The paramedic or the nurse will drive for themselves. So in terms of efficiencies, we're doing it on both ends. We're doing it efficiently in terms of our delivery of care to the patients, so we get to see more patients over a shorter period of time, but also from an operational perspective in our own organisation, we're lowering our cost base. And this is something that can be applied across the HSE. In terms of our success with it, we've already done over 2,000 consultations. We've brought our waiting times down from 3.5 hours to 1 hour. This is the big one for me. It's the patient satisfaction is greater than 95%. We have approached the HSE with this and we've had a little bit of success. We're currently doing a pilot down in Kilrush for remote consultations, and we're waiting on a tender to come out following a successful proof of concept that we did in North East Dock. So that should be happening over the next couple of months. So that's one of the things we're doing. The second thing that we have the license for, and we're currently in discussions with a number of the COPD specialists, is the HomePod medical testing equipment. Now this can be done for CHF, it can be done for diabetes, it can be done for COPD. Essentially what happens is the patient gets one of these pods and they will get whatever peripheral device is relevant to their condition. So for COPD we're going to use a pulse ox, thermometer, and obviously a BP cuff. So what happens is there's a predetermined patient plan put into this HomePod. Every morning the patient wakes up and answers a series of questions. They're all branch logic questions. So how did you sleep last night? Good, bad. How many times did you cough up sputum, etc., etc. All those results are fed back in real time into the system. Nothing is actually held on the tablet. Then they take their readings. All of them are fed back into the system. And then there's a huge body of algorithms and so on behind it. And that spits out warning alerts based on certain thresholds that are in there. 5 minutes, almost there. Based on certain thresholds that have been agreed by the patient's physician. Now, the clinical governance of the physician remains with the patient's own physician. What we have behind this is we have a specialist nurse, so for COPD, she manages up to 400 patients over the course of a period. And this basically spits out alerts, red, yellow or green. Red, you're in trouble and there's a mode of action. We very, very rarely get to red. Yellow, okay, we're showing some signs, we need an intervention. So that could be taking a rescue medication. That could be go and see your physio, go and see your doctor. Green means you're fine. So it manages by exception. And what it has shown to prove, due to the UK experience, and there are over 10,000 units within the NHS in the UK, is we remove 100%, and this has all been validated by universities in the United States, in the UK. Out of our primary care attendance is down by 100%. But the two big ones for me is unplanned hospital admissions, down by 57%. Imagine over the winter if you had 57% less COPD admissions. How many more hospital beds was that free up? And then in terms of your A&E attendances, 52% down on that. And then your hospital length of stay reduces by 78%. So it brings it down from 9.2 days to just under 2 days. So from a whole efficiency perspective, it's huge. Finally, the data, actually, believe it or not, available on COPD goes back a long way, but basically back of the envelope kind of evaluation based on a number of the different factors that we mentioned there in terms of the results. We could give an annual saving of 48.5 million. And that's just in the reduction of hospital admissions alone. So when you add to that reduction in the length of stay, you add to that the reduction in the A&E attendances, you add to that the reduction of people going to actually see their GP, you can see where the efficiencies that could be applied to the HSE line. And that's it. Thank you very much.